If you're watching this video, you probably are thinking about buying a project car, or you already bought one and you're trying to see how much it's going to cost. And if neither of those are true, then I have no clue why you're watching. But today we're doing a full breakdown on the cost of buying a project car because I just bought one. My project car of choice is a 1994 Pontiac Firebird. Obviously I went with the Trans Am because it's the 5.7 liter V8 LT1 engine. While underappreciated, the LT1 is a great engine. Its only downfall is its OptiSpark, which on paper looks really good, but in practice didn't work as well as they thought. But the first thing you have to buy when you're buying a project car is the project car. So after you've done a ton of research and looked through all of your different options, pick a car that you like and is in your budget. For me, it was the 94 Firebird because they're cheap, they look cool, have pop-up headlights, and they have airbags. Yes, old airbags are terrible and they will probably do more harm than good, but it's always nice to have them. Maybe not, but so how much did I pay for my car? And here's a full breakdown of the entire cost of buying the car. First off, for the actual vehicle, I paid $3,500. For a car with 85,000 miles and a ton of different upgrades that I'll get into in a few minutes, that's a really good price. He was originally asking $4,000, but we were able to get it down to $3,500. And finding a 94 Firebird in this condition that's this clean is almost unheard of, especially for the 90 years. So $3,500 doesn't sound too bad for a project car, does it? But it wouldn't be a project car if the cost of the car wasn't the only expense. Obviously, whenever you buy a car, you have to get the tag and title and insurance to be able to drive it. So for the tag and title, I went to a tag and title place, which they have in my state. Some states don't have them. Don't ask me why. And no, it's not a notary. It's like a completely separate place. It's literally called a tag and title place for my state. It's not a notary. This is also where you pay tax on the car that you buy. And in total for the tag, title, and tax, it was $388.55. You heard I was talking about some pretty nice mods that my car already has before. So let's explain all of those and tell you how much they would have cost if I had to buy them myself. Starting off, these two aren't mods, they're just things that needed to be replaced that the previous owner replaced for me, which were the spark plugs, which would run around $50, and the alternator, which would run around $120. He also replaced the battery, which would be like another $80 to $100. So right there, we already saved a ton of money because he did those before I bought the car. And he even had the shop do the alternator, so I know it's installed at least somewhat well. I mean, you never know with a shop. Also, right off the bat, he told me that it wasn't a stock exhaust, but he didn't know what was on it. And I could tell that there was at least Flowmaster tips, but I didn't think it was a full Flowmaster setup. After looking at it deeper, I saw under the hood that it has pace setter headers. The exhaust tips from Flowmaster run around $80 to $100, and there's two of them, so that's around $160 to $200. The headers, on the other hand, would have run me about $500. So that saved me a ton of money from having to buy headers and go through the hassle of trying to route them and install them in my own car. I would have loved to do the work that those two installs were, but I also like saving money, so having them pre-installed, I'm not complaining. And another modification that the car already had, which is really nice to have, is a cold air intake setup with actually dual filters. The only problem was it used a milk carton to try and get the air up as a scoop to push it into the filters. However, since I like 3D printing, I was able to design and 3D print my own scoop out of carbon fiber nylon and install it onto the car, which is a lot more rigid and it works a lot better than previously, which we installed the other day. If you want to check it out, check out my Instagram. I wasn't able to find the cold air intake setup that I have on my car online, except for one that I found on eBay, which was listed for $125 used, so I'm not really sure what it would have been new. When I bought the car, as with most old Firebirds, the headlight motors were shot. This isn't too much of an issue as you can buy new headlight motors or you can buy brass gear replacements and fix them yourself. The person I bought the car from though, he gave me one motor because he thought he was going to replace it but ended up never doing it. And he didn't get the other one. So when I bought the car, I already had one of the $50 motors, and I just installed it myself onto the car, and it works perfectly now. I did have to buy the other one though off Rock Auto, which cost me $50 as I stated before. Now I have a working pop-up headlight setup, and it looks really cool. I love pop-up headlights on cars. One of the main reasons I went with that is because of the pop-up headlights. So that's another $50 added on to the cost of the project. Since there's very little mechanically wrong with the car and even less cosmetically wrong with the car, there's not a whole lot I needed to do to actually get this car to be drivable. So from day one, I already had a working, driving, and running project car. So it was time to start doing some upgrades myself. As a first upgrade, obviously we had to do something visual, so we purchased some wheels. A lot of people really like the chrome wheels that are already on the car, but I didn't really care for them that much. They're not bad, but I think the wheels that I got are a whole lot better. So for $750, I picked up classic GTA wheels, and here are the wheels. So these are the classic GTA wheels. A lot of them had gold in the center, but I really like the white. It's the same exact white that's on road signs, so it's really reflective at night, and it's going to look awesome once I finally get it on the car. You might be looking at me and being like, wow, are you just incredibly strong? You're holding these up super easily. The answer to that is yes, but they also only weigh 16 pounds a piece, which is incredibly light for a wheel. So I bet you never thought that a wheel would be a performance upgrade, but more lightness equals more fastness. So we're getting more faster. If you watch my last video, you'll know that it's kind of been a predicament trying to get tires and get the wheels mounted onto the car because they're not the same offset as the other ones, and I don't have the ability to put tires on wheels. So 2 shops that I've went to haven't been able to do it for me because they didn't want me to accidentally bump the wheel with my fender. But don't worry, we're going to get these on the car and it's going to look amazing. I've also had to pay for some odds and ends with the car, like cleaning products, which cost me around $30 for some carpet cleaner and some interior cleaner. Also, since this is a 30-year-old car, it obviously doesn't have Bluetooth. So I bought one of those $15 Bluetooth adapters so I can listen to music in my car. Everyone has been telling me that the sound quality on these are terrible. And I must admit it's not that good, but I don't really like music that much anyways, and I don't really listen to it that often. So I'm not going to go spending thousands of dollars on a really nice speaker setup when I barely even listen to music. So right there, I'm getting pretty close to $5,000 already, and I've only had the car for 3 weeks. One of the things that I really need to do to the car, and I need to do it soon, is the back brake rotors need to be replaced, because they're very grooved, so they need to be replaced sometime soon, which will run me around $100. The second thing that really needs work is the paint job. This thing either needs a paint job or a wrap ASAP, because I hate how the hood is not the same color as the rest of the car. I mean, technically it is, but it's not clear coated, and even if I did clear coat it, it's not going to look the same as the rest of the car anyways, so I need to do something about that. Plus, the paint is already fading on the rear view mirrors, so we need to do something about that ASAP. Now, that'll run me a few $1,000s depending on whether I wrap or paint it. Painting is going to be a lot more expensive, but painting is going to last me forever, and wrapping will only last me a few years, so in the long run, painting your car is a lot cheaper. Just a little side note, if you haven't already heard, I'm buying a Supra, and I'm only 17 years old. And here's how I'm going to do it. Every penny I make from this channel and its ad revenue is going to go towards the Supra, as well as I'm selling keychains that I 3D printed because I'm into 3D printing, and hopefully in a matter of 10 months I'll be able to buy a Supra so I can drive it to my prom and graduation, because that's my dream. So if you want to support, pick up a keychain or subscribe to my Patreon, where I'll be posting early videos and a ton of different stuff like interacting with you guys. Also, since this is 30 years old, like most other cars, it uses halogen bulbs for the fog lights and the actual headlights. This means that it is super dim and very hard to see at night when you're driving. So I definitely want to do an LED replacement. I'm not sure if I'm going to just do the bulbs or I'm going to do the actual rectangle housing. Either way, that's going to cost me a few $100s on top of it because those bulbs are actually super expensive. I don't really know why. Another mod that I'm looking to do and a ton of people do is coilovers. This is going to run me a few $1,000s for a nice setup, especially if I want one that's like fully adjustable and everything. So I'll be expecting to pay a few thousand for that as well. But this will likely give me a lot better handling and it'll be so much fun to drive. So I'm super excited for that. Another aesthetic mod that I want to do, and it's not really a mod as just something aesthetically I want to do to the car to make it look a lot better, is get some different valve covers, like aluminum ones that look really nice because they can be all shiny. The black ones aren't bad, but they are old and I just think a chrome or aluminum one would look really nice. Something else that needs to be fixed, but not immediately, is the driver's side window doesn't go down. And this is an issue because it gets really hot in the car. I know I have AC, but it takes really long to get cold. The passenger side goes down, but the driver doesn't. So I'm either gonna replace the motor and regulator, or it has to do something with the switch, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. Apparently it's not fun having to replace the regulator or motor. Other than that, there's not a whole lot I want to do to the car. Right there, that's looking at around $8,000 to $10,000 being spent on this car as just a project. And I only paid $3,500 for it because car parts are expensive. So if you're looking at getting a project car, keep in mind how much it's going to cost to actually fix and mod the car. And keep in mind that my car was running and driving when I bought it. And if you buy a car that's not currently running or not driving, and it needs something like an engine or transmission, you're going to be in a whole lot more than I am.